Censorship, it's a battle we always fight here at The Source. We're not the only ones across the pond. It's a fight, too. Joining us now from London is Nick Cohen, who's just written a book called You Can't Read This Book. Welcome to the program.
Hello there.
Now, why can't I read this book? Who would want to stop me from reading this book? And is your book about censorship, I take it?
It is, yeah. It's a history of how censorship works in modern Western democracies. But it's also an argument. It's an argument against the feeling that's very widespread. I feel it myself sometimes, that the internet sets us all free. All we need is, I don't know, laptops and mobiles, and the state can't touch us. There are lots of censorious forces, which are sometimes more powerful when I was young. Religion, most notably, the power of money, particularly here in London, where we're sort of the oligarch's favourite libel centre. So it's an argument against Western complacency, I hope, anyway.
Now, in some ways, I think technology has made us free. I mean, we're just watching some of the tyrants in the Middle East try and crack down on the Twitter revolution.
Oh, yeah.
You see how powerless they are. But how has how technology made us vulnerable to censorship? Give us some examples. You talk about London being a censorship capital because of their libel laws. Give me the example of how that has affected free speech.
Well, can I, before I do that, just say of the internet, a very important point to remember is, just as the net and new technology empowers the individuals, it empowers states, it empowers employers in particular to monitor what workers do, even when they're outside work. It empowers some pretty ugly terrorist groups or sectarian groups to keep tracks on people. It's a Janus-faced technology. I mean, you can say there are Twitter revolutions in the Middle East. The Iranian regime is now getting very good at hacking people's Facebook pages, hacking people's Twitter accounts. Same thing in China. It's not an unmixed blessing by any means.
A good point. The same technology that sets us free empowers the bad guys too. It's almost like a race, a cat and mouse game.
And that's always been the way. It's always been the way. I think the internet is very important, maybe as important as printing, because it's cheap, because anyone can access it. You don't need to set up a television company. Even now, still costs. You need a bit of money to do that. You don't need much money to get a laptop. But it's always been a way that every technical advance can be used by people who want to oppress, and also to spread their own propaganda, of course, as well. States, religious groups aren't passive in these matters.
Now, I don't mind propaganda because the best way to deal with propaganda is to rebut it. Now, tell me about how, well, one group, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, a group of Arab countries led by Saudi Arabia, is trying to censor what they call blasphemy or defamation of Islam. Tell me how radical Islam has used the internet to censor ideas critical of them.
Well, it's not so much the internet; it's more fear. I'm very conscious of self-censorship. You know, we remember the big dramatic cases, the Salman Rushdie's, the Ayaan Hirsi Ali's, but the censorship that works is almost invisible. It's people biting their tongues, throwing down their pens, not sticking their heads above the parapet. I would say, certainly in the West, radical Islam is probably the biggest cause of self-censorship, outside work, outside people being frightened to say things against their employers. Because however small the fear is, there's a fear of violence, which writers, intellectuals, journalists in the West aren't used to. We're not really used to the idea, how much we brag and boast about us telling truth to power. We're not used to the notion that maybe, just maybe, someone might hurt us very badly for blaspheming, as you put it, although I thought we'd got rid of blasphemy laws, certainly in my country, and never even had them in America. And that fear is very pervasive and leads to an awful lot of hypocrisies. Because of the fact that we all like to pretend we're big, macho, tough guys who tell it like it is, who tell truth to power, who, if you're comedians and artists, you know, they're always boasting that they're transgressing taboos or smashing hierarchies or being terribly daring and brave. We're not very good at admitting we're afraid.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
We're not very good.
It's easy to mock the Pope. He's not going to put a suicide bomber on your case.
No,
The few cases where people do criticize Islam, like South Park, they're chased out of the public square, often by their own companies. We only have about a minute left. I want to ask you about your experience with Twitter, which I think is a technology that gives millions of people a way to speak. How can Twitter, we only have about 20 seconds left. Tell me about your experience with Twitter in our last few seconds.
Well, they keep suspending me from it, rather bizarrely. I'm just back on again. I've been suspended 3 times for no reason at all. So people in Britain are now saying you can't read Nick's tweets.
Give me a one-liner. What is their excuse for suspending you?
They don't know. I genuinely don't know what's going on. Perhaps it's some malicious guy or something. All I'm doing is posting links, like links to this program. I assure you it's nothing remotely unsavory.
Nick Cohen, thanks for joining us on the show today. I appreciate it. You keep up the fight for freedom.